What's up, y'all? So I posted a poll a few days back asking if people wanted a background tutorial because I've been working on backgrounds recently and I've been doing them a lot, and so I've learned a lot from doing backgrounds. And I just wanted to see if anybody else wanted to, learn from some of the tips that I got from like watching videos and studying and stuff. And a lot of people said yes, so here we are. I'm just skipping the parts where I actually draw like the subjects, and I'm just gonna focus on just talking about the background, just giving y'all some tips of some stuff that I do while the drawing is in, like while I'm doing the drawing in the background. So first things first, I get my reference that I want to use, and then I just get straight to it. You saw in the beginning I was choosing my composition in that little white box that I was sketching out. And once I figured that out, I just kind of went into it. Like, I don't think too much, because the problem with starting backgrounds or even doing backgrounds is that they're really intimidating because there's a lot there's a lot of space you have to fill up. Most of the times when I draw, it's just the subject, and then the background is kind of plain, probably just a flat color or probably just some blur in the background. But when you're doing actual backgrounds with a scene and a location, it gets difficult because there's a lot you have to consider, a lot you have to put into. And so I'm gonna try to break that down just a little bit, that way it's not so scary when you start making backgrounds. So the first thing I do is just paint the background with a color that is most dominant. So you see when I'm working on the mountains in the background, brown is the most dominant color. So I just outline the shapes that I want to use for these like high pillars in brown. And I'm using my reference, but I'm not using it too much, because another problem that people have when it comes to doing backgrounds and using a reference is that they get discouraged when their background doesn't look exactly like what they reference. Remember, when you're drawing, you're not from a reference. Specifically, when you're drawing from a reference, it's not going to look exactly how the reference is unless you're doing a master copy for class when it's absolutely necessary. When you're using a reference, remember that you're still incorporating your own style, or you're supposed to be incorporating your own style into what you're referencing anyway. So if it doesn't end up looking exactly like the background, like mine doesn't look exactly like the background, obviously, but that's just because I know what choices I want to make when it comes to painting and drawing and stuff like that. So that's the first background. Let's get into the second one. I did this canyon kind of reference, and as you can see in my sketch, before I even get into painting, I'm choosing my composition. I'm figuring out where I want certain areas of the background to be, which is something I could work on a little bit. Working on foreground and background is something I'm working on myself, but that's another thing that you have to focus on. Understand that the farther away things are, you have to make them a little skeeter. You have to make them smaller, because they're not as big the closer you get. And this goes for mountaintops, buildings, cityscapes, and stuff like that. The next tip I want to give people is coloring. So when I'm coloring, I don't shade. I block out with whatever color I'm choosing to use. So as you can see, I'm making all of these vertical lines for the side of the mountains and stuff like that, because that's what I see in the background that I'm referencing. I just see vertical lines. I'm not trying to make all these detailed decisions. I don't need to do all of that, because the way that the eye perceives the image that I'm painting as my background, you can tell. I don't have to go in so hard with details, because the way that I'm putting in these colors and the way that I'm positioning my lines, you can tell just by looking at it. This is a canyon, these are mountains, right? And that's on purpose. That's not on accident. That's on purpose. And that's just something you learn the more you draw, the more mature you get with your artwork. Also, when it comes to coloring, just be generous with the way you use colors. Put down what you see. Don't focus too hard on the colorings, because you can get carried away. And also know that the farther away your background gets, the grayer your colors get. That's a little bit more into color theory. I don't think I'm really well equipped to teach that, give any tips on that, but understand that when the background is getting farther away, the colors start to gray out. You can look outside right now. If you look outside your window and you can see like the cityscapes from far away, you can see downtown, you can see mountains. trees begin to look grayer than green. Even though they're trees and you know they're green, they're still beginning to get grayer. And that just has to do with the way the air kind of messes with our perception of light and colors. So now this one is a bit of a more basic one. I did this back in March, and the last two that I just showed you guys me doing were literally last week. So I just wanted to show you how far I've come from doing backgrounds, and this background is a little more simplistic. There's a lot less going on than in the last ones, but I want to encourage these type of backgrounds too, because these are still interesting. I want to encourage people to stray away from just doing blank backgrounds and at least put something in there, you know. This one is just going to be a beach background. I've sketched out everything. You saw my horizon line in the background, and the way I color the sand and the way I color the water is really free. Like there's no, like I said again, no blending. Just I'm blocking colors next to each other so that way it looks like it's naturally happening, like the blend is naturally blending and stuff like that. Same with the water. I even threw in like a water, like a bottle and a crab in there, and I didn't blend. I'm just blocking in how I would paint basically. And this is just my style. Like of course you don't have to do that, but I just want to encourage y'all to have fun with y'all backgrounds. Don't look at them like a task that you, like a chore that you need to get done. Look at it as something that you're going into, you're doing it, and that's the end of it. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. Again, like I'm not an art educator, so my rule isn't law. Like nothing I say is perfect. I'm not the king of this shit. This is just how I do backgrounds, and I hope that it can help, you know, anybody else out there that's looking to maybe start backgrounds or they feel discouraged by them or intimidated. So thank you so much for the support. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. I might do some really dumb shit soon, so you don't want to miss that.